I don't know what happened here. We had everything.
Apollo 12, which set off from Cape Kennedy on 14th November 1969 into a cloudy sky, faced a difficult start at the beginning. The loss of the telemetry link when lightning struck not once but twice was a serious challenge for the crew. But could Commander Charles Pete Conrad, pilot Alan Bean, and Command Module pilot Richard Gordon overcome these difficulties? Apollo 12 arrived on the Moon approximately 110 hours after launch. The launch took place on 14th November 1969, and the lunar landing took place on 19th November 1969. A total of 4 days and 18 hours had passed in this process. What did they experience? The importance of Apollo 12 is that humanity landed on the lunar surface for the second time, and this time it had the capacity to carry out scientific research. Charles Conrad, Alan Bean, and Richard Gordon collected important data using the Apollo Lunar Surface Experiments package left on the lunar surface. How did this data shed light on the future, in terms of the Moon's geology, magnetic field, and other scientific aspects? This is the story of Apollo 12. 14th of November 1969, and this is the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The vast expanse of the Kennedy Space Center was bustling with preparations for the launch of Apollo 12, with technicians and engineers meticulously checking every part of Apollo 12 and making final preparations. The Saturn V rocket was filled with longing to soar into the darkness of space. The legendary rocket was 18.8 meters high, 6.6 meters in diameter, and towered like a tower in the sky with its power. Weighing 39 tons, the Saturn V consisted of 3 stages. These 3 stages consisted of 2 types of rocket engines. These 2 engines, called F1 and J2, could provide 34.02 Mn and 4.4 Mn thrust respectively. The F1 produces 680 tons of thrust. Weighing 8,400 kilo, this engine is more than 3.5 meter long, with a base width of 3.5 mil. It consumes 2.7 tons of fuel per second. The J2 was smaller than the F1 because it used liquid hydrogen instead of kerosene. This was indeed a tremendous power in those years. In the light of all this information, the crew of Apollo 12 was excitedly making their final preparations. Commander Charles Pete Conrad, pilot Alan Bean, and Command Module pilot Richard Gordon were making final checks inside the spacecraft, checking their equipment and focusing on their mission. Were all preparations complete? The moment finally arrived. On the morning of 14th November 1969, the first rays of the sun illuminated the rising Saturn V rocket. As eyes turned to Kennedy Space Center's Launch Complex 39A, people held their breath and waited with excitement. As the rocket ignited, people in the neighborhood marveled at the spectacular sight they were witnessing. And at that moment, with a thunderous sound, the Apollo 12 engines were rising towards the worked sky. Saturn V, the first 2 stages were to lift the Apollo spacecraft out of the atmosphere. However, something unexpected happened. Just 52 seconds after launch, the rocket was jolted by a flash of light in the dark clouds. What would happen now? Would it be the end? The moment the lightning struck, the rocket took everyone by surprise. The engineers at the Launch Control Center quickly focused on their monitors, while the astronauts' faces showed a determined expression. The crew had the courage to meet this unexpected challenge, but they realized what an uphill struggle they faced.
I don't know what happened here. We had everything in the world drop out. We got 3 fuel cell lights, an AC bus light, a fuel cell disconnect, AC bus overload, 1 and 2, main bus A and B out.
As the rocket traveled away from the launch pad and left the Earth's atmosphere, it created a wave of excitement in everyone's hearts. However, the rocket's damage from the lightning strike left a number of questions among spectators and crew members. How much were the rocket systems affected? How would the crew of Apollo 12 overcome this unexpected challenge? As the rocket gradually disappeared into the sky, viewers began to wonder how exciting just the beginning of Apollo 12's story would be. However, the real challenges and discoveries would be when they reached the moon and what they would encounter there. So what would the heroes of Apollo 12 experience on their journey to unlock the secrets of the moon? In the Commander Conrad and his crew checked the controls inside the rocket. Each of them was deeply focused and determined. The fear and uncertainty caused by the two lightning strikes was evident in the eyes of the crew members. However, the crew braved the challenge and remained determined to complete their mission. The hours after the launch were a period of waiting, flooded with information from the control center and from viewers around the world. As the rocket's altitude increased every second, the crew and control team were assessing the impact of the event. And Apollo 12 was successfully on its way to the moon. The problems had been solved. This unfortunate accident could not stop them. The first two stages of the Saturn V lifted the Apollo spacecraft out of the atmosphere, and the third stage was used to send it towards the moon while in Earth orbit. The third stage therefore incorporated an attitude control system. With the firing of the Saturn V, the first stage gave the vehicle a velocity of 88 to 50 km/h, after which it separated and fell into the Atlantic Ocean. Then, the management system in the vehicle's unit compared where the vehicle was and where it was supposed to be. And if it was necessary to correct the direction, a change of direction was made electronically to the second stage. When the vehicle was at an altitude of 96 kilometers, the launch and recovery tower was separated. And when the vehicle's speed was 24,000 km/h, the second stage was separated. The third stage provided the remaining speed required. In the meantime, the management system directed the vehicle to enter the window, to enter the orbit. When this was achieved, the third stage engine was switched off and the spacecraft, third stage vehicles unit, waited in Earth orbit without expending power. At the appropriate time, the captains reignited the third stage engine and started the journey to the moon. When the third stage was finished, it left the space. After 4 days and 18 hours of traveling, the moon landing was successful.